and he said that the man who was sitting next to our table had offered to pay the bill for us.
You ever get creeped out by people in public places that just seem to flag you down because they want something? Maybe they're homeless, maybe they're just creepy and weird. I've had numerous encounters with people at mainly fuel stations, okay? So you go to the gas station, you start pumping gas, next thing you know, you're being approached by somebody out of nowhere. Hey, bruh, let me holler at you. That kind of approach, you know what I mean? And it's never women, it's always men, and that in my experience at least. And it's always some unsavory character. It's never anybody that looks like somebody that is approaching you about a networking opportunity or want to do business with you. They always need something, is what I'm saying. The other day, I went to McDonald's because it was like 4:30 in the morning and I needed some breakfast. I was driving back from out of town because my wife went to a training out of town for her work, and I decided to go to the hotel with her and spend a couple days. And I followed her. I drove there and drove back so I can leave early. Anyway, I left early, first thing in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, okay? I'm at a McDonald's, and after I went through the drive-thru, I decided to pull to the side, kind of like, you know, where the cars stay when your fries aren't ready, so they tell you to pull into lane 2 or whatever and wait there. So I stopped there because I was going to unwrap my sandwich, my breakfast sandwich, and get my drink ready and put my straw in my drink and all of this stuff. Well, I had my window down since I had just went through the drive-thru, and I noticed someone that was walking from seemingly like nowhere, kind of like down towards the interstate. You know how these little side streets are with the frontage roads? There's not a whole bunch going on the side of an interstate. It looked like he was just walking towards a field, and then it looks like that was where he was coming from. So I don't know. He didn't look like he was homeless. But anyway, so I noticed him pass by my car, and just out of habit, I just rolled my window up. You know, that's just what you do, you know. People are just walking around or whatever, you roll your window up. Anyway, I'm still paying attention to this. I'm trying to get a podcast loaded on my phone, so I set my phone on my dash, and I noticed the guy coming back. Okay, well, I'm just about ready to pull off, and I noticed as soon as he gets past my car, it's like he stopped, like, let me ask this guy something. You know what I mean? So he turns around and he waves at me, and I start pulling out in reverse, and he act like I didn't see him or something, when he dang well saw that I saw him and I'm still pulling up. So he starts waving at me frantically and kind of picking up his pace, and y'all, my tires didn't screech, but I got out of there fast. I didn't want to have nothing to do with it. I don't know what he needed, but who better to help him, me or the people in McDonald's? You got a whole restaurant full of people, a phone if you needed, all kind of stuff. You could have easily just, whatever you needed that they couldn't help you with, I sure can't help you with, partner. I'm not giving you a ride. So that wasn't even an option. Anyway, I drove off, but it's just, I knew something in the back of my mind said the first time when he passed my car, I knew it was going to be weird. I knew he was going to be weird. People not just walking around that don't need something weird. Was he in trouble? I don't know, but I wasn't qualified to help him. Not nearly as well as the building next to me. At any rate, creepy people at gas stations and restaurants and all of these places just make me nervous. And I don't like it. And we're going to react to a story today about a creepy guy at a restaurant from Wansee Entertainment. Make sure to head on over to his channel and subscribe, guys. Click the notification bell as well. And if you like reaction videos, make sure you subscribe to this channel as well. Let's get into the story.
A few years ago, my mom, my younger sister, and I went out for dinner at a local restaurant one night.
All right.
As we were walking on the sidewalk towards the restaurant, I noticed a man walking towards us from the opposite direction. Well, I can say that this was normal, but there was sort of a creepy vibe about him. He looked like he was in his mid-50s. He was tall and had a dirty beard. He was also bald.
Okay.
Anyway, we walked inside the restaurant, and the waiter led us to a table. Then...
Now, this looks like a pretty nice restaurant, and the way the character was animated and drawn, it didn't look like he belonged in this white linen type setup. So maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just being judgmental, but it didn't look like he was a fit for this type of establishment.
Then a few minutes later, the same man from the sidewalk walked in and sat at a table close to ours, which was so uncomfortable. I thought this was weird, but when our meals came out, I just swept away any doubts about him. While we were eating, I noticed that he was staring at me the whole time.
Weird.
I tried to ignore him. When my sister and I were almost finished eating, the waiter came up to us and said to my mom, "Ma'am, don't worry, your bill has been paid."
Okay, now, that's a twist. Look, anytime that I've ever gotten generous gifts from anonymous people, it's usually because I'm creating content like on Twitch. I get donations all the time, so I'm familiar with stuff like that. What I'm not familiar with is when people, like, when an anonymous person buys you a drink in a bar. That's a sign. That's old school sign of trying to hook up, right? So it's an awkward feeling when somebody buys you a gift that you don't even know. It's awkward sometimes when people you do know do that to you. Oh, look her face. Oh.
My mom was confused and asked him what he meant, and he said that the man who was sitting next to our table had offered to pay the bill for us. Although this was a cheap restaurant, my mom refused the offer and explained that she was creeped out by that man.
Yes. Now, refusing an offer is a good way to let that other person know that you aren't interested in getting to know them. Look, we don't want your charity. Thank you. You know, that's fine. That's okay. I appreciate the gesture, but no thank you. That's a kind way to do it, right?
The waiter soon nodded and went to go get our bill. When he left, the man slowly walked towards us, opened a strange duffel bag he was carrying, and pulled out 2 stuffed animals.
No!
The shapes of the stuffed animals were totally crushed, and I didn't realize that it was an animal at first. It was the most disgusting thing that I've ever seen in my life.
That's not stuffed animals, that's real animals? What kind of freak does that?
My heart started beating faster when he came over to our table and gave the stuffed animals to me and my sister.
No!
Being a 5-year-old girl, my sister was going to say yes, but my mom and I both interrupted and refused.
Stop!
Then the man didn't say a word. He walked back to his table and sat down. After the waiter came back with our bill, my mom explained what just happened. The waiter said that the man paid for his meal, so it wasn't possible to kick him out. However, the waiter said that he would follow us out of the restaurant to make sure everything was okay.
Get in the car.
Later that night, when we came back home, I tried to fall asleep, but it was hard to close my eyes because I was still feeling uncomfortable. I just laid there, and when I looked at the clock, it was around 2 a.m. All of a sudden, I heard someone walking outside my window.
No.
It was the fall season, so all the dead leaves would make loud crunching sounds whenever someone walked on them. At first, I assumed that it might have been some type of animal.
No! You know better than that, girl. That's that dude. Call the cops.
However, I abruptly remembered the man from the restaurant and began to feel scared.
I guess so.
The sound of footsteps was getting closer, and I shut my eyes as tight as I possibly could. Knock, knock,
on the door.
Knock. I heard someone knock on my window 3 times. Slowly, I froze. I knew that it was a red flag and that I shouldn't open my eyes. But I opened my eyes cautiously. Then my heart dropped. The man at the restaurant was peeking through my window.
With his tongue? Ah!
With his glaring eyes, his eyes were fixed on me and looked me up and down.
Oh my God!
I couldn't scream at all. I just laid there, praying that it must be a dream. However, he didn't do any harm to me. He just stood there watching me and then walked away after a while.
Psychological harm? You don't have to get physical to leave me scarred for life. God dang, that was so creepy.
I didn't get any sleep for the rest of the night.
Or week.
The next morning, I explained to my mom what happened yesterday, and she called the police right away.
You waited all night to tell mom? Bruh, you don't understand. As soon as I'd have seen that dude's tongue, I'd have been in my mom's bedroom yelling at the top of... She wouldn't have needed to know what was going on when I got there, because she'd have known way before. I'd have been hollering the whole way, cuz. No way.
However, although the police searched all over the area, they couldn't find him. They didn't know who that creeper was or what he wanted. But I'll never forget that night.
You know, y'all could have maybe went to the restaurant and asked, you know, what the, maybe they had the name. Maybe the cops could go to the restaurant and say, hey, you got a name for the bill? Did he pay in cash or did he pay on the credit card? You got a name? It might have been a fake, but you know, I was saying earlier, the way he looked, it didn't really look like he fitted that restaurant. And they did say that it was a less expensive restaurant. It just didn't look like it in the animation. But you know, people can fool you too. I worked at a casino for years and the book don't always fit the cover. There was some very wealthy people that did not dress the part. You know what I mean? You don't have to look like that. But the way I looked at it in this video, it looked like they were animated to be an unsavory character, which is fine. I don't feel bad about it. But you gotta be cautious around people, especially weirdos that try to buy you dinner that never met you before. You know, a mom and 2 kids, maybe it's a nice gesture. I don't know. I'd have probably tried to talk to him first. But being they crossed him on the way into the restaurant, and then the guy came into the restaurant after them, very, very peculiar. But anyway, guys, make sure to go check out Wansee Entertainment's channel for more animations just like this, and subscribe to them and to me if you like reactions. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off, and we'll see you next time.